نحمده ونصلي على رسول الكريم أما بعد السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته, and welcome to lesson number 21 of Al-Aqida Al-Tahawiyya. Last week we just finished off talking about whether it would be legitimate. Our belief is the legitimacy of raising arms against a Muslim leader, and that's what we move on to next. So clearly we said that no fellow Muslim can be harmed unless the Sharia has given permission to do so or made it binding upon the community. ولا نرى الخروج على أئمتنا وولاة أمورنا وإن جاروا ولا ندعو عليهم ولا ننزع يدا من طاعتهم ونرى طاعتهم من طاعة الله تعالى فريضة ما لم يأمروا بمعصية. So we do not consider it legitimate to rebel against our leaders and those who are administrating our affairs, وَإِن جَارُوا, even if they become tyrants. وَلَا نَدْعُ عَلَيْهِمْ, nor do we imprecate against them. وَلَا نَنْزِعُ يَدًا مِنْ طَاعَتِهِمْ, nor do we withdraw obedience to them. وَنَرَى طَاعَتُهُمْ, and we consider obedience to them as obedience to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, as the obligation of obedience to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, as long as they do not encourage or order us to disobey Allah or to commit major sins. So here you can see that the view of the Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah is that a Muslim leader must be respected and must be followed, even if they're not the best of leaders. Okay, their obedience is paramount. Causing fitna, causing civil instability is something which the Sharia frowns upon and puts parameters into place to avoid that, because it's always a greater harm takes place afterwards. Yes, there will be harm with those leaders in place at that time. Absolutely. There will be, unfortunately, many, people's opposition, political members being imprisoned. There will be people potentially tortured. There will be people that will potentially disappear. But it will impact on a few, relatively speaking, compared to if there was, say, an opposition war to that. We've seen that across the Muslim world, where particularly Western powers have supported uprisings across the Muslim world. And yes, the people who were leading them weren't exactly great people. There's no doubt about that. But the damage and the problems it's caused people afterwards has been significantly higher. And this has now impacted literally on everybody. No food, no peace, and you see in some countries that have been in that state for 10, 15 years, where there is continuously killings and bombings and all sorts going on. So yeah, in the short term, it looks like a great celebration that finally we've got rid of X dictator or B dictator or Z dictator. But eventually there is so much political strife, there is so much civil unrest, there is so much killing going on, that the ends do not, are not any better. In fact, they're considerably worse. And it's strange because those tyrants were originally put there by Western powers anyway, supported by Western powers. But as soon as they start to disobey those Western powers, then they're removed. So this is what we find ourselves in, and from our perspective, Muslim leaders should not be rebelled against, okay, unless obviously they are openly start to challenge the Sharia and remove it and start to enjoin order their civilians to carry out acts which are to disobey Allah and contrary to the Sharia. That's a different ballgame altogether. وَنَدْعُ لَهُمْ بِالصَّلَاحِ وَالْمُعَافَةِ, and we will pray for them for their soundness and their well-being, because we want them to return back to the path. They are believers like us. وَنَتْبَعُ السُّنَّةِ وَالْجَمَاعَةِ, and we will follow the Sunnah and the Jama'ah, which we have said so many times. وَنَجْتَنِبُ الشُّذُوذَ وَالْخِلَافَ وَالْفُرْقَةِ, and we will avoid any dissent, any opposition, any separation, sectarianism. وَنُحِبُّ أَهْلَ الْعَدْلِ وَالْأَمَانَةِ وَنُبْغِضُ أَهْلَ الْجَوْرِ وَالْخِيَانَةِ, and we will love and by extension support the people who are just and trustworthy, and we will detest, we will detest the people, those who are oppressive and those who are khiyanat, deceitful and treacherous. وَنَقُولُ اللَّهُ أَعْلَمُ فِي مَشْتَبَهَ عَلَيْنَا إِلْمُهُ. And we will say, Allah knows best when it comes to any knowledge regarding them which is somewhat ambiguous. Now this mas'ala, which people will find quite surprising in a book of Aqidah, has been presented here. And this is the Masa al-Khufayn. And you might think, why has Masa al-Khufayn made it into Al-Aqida Al-Tahawiyya? So, وَنَرَسْ مَسْحَ عَلَى الْخُفَيْنِ فِي السَّفْرِ وَالْحَذْرِ كَمَا جَاءَ فِي الْأَثَرِ. And we consider it valid to wipe over footwear when traveling and as a resident, which has come to us in the traditions. Now, the reason that this has been brought is because that the Rafida were those who objected to wiping on the hoofs. So because it's so even though this is a legal ruling, but it is based on well-known traditions. So in reality, it's not the result which is the issue, it's the process. The process is denying something which has been established from a sound source. That's the issue. And we gave that example earlier, if you remember, when we spoke about a person who says, I practice this thing or this particular type of relationship and I feel it's okay as a Muslim. I do not find it as a problem as a Muslim. That is a problem. Why? Because there are verses which speak about those particular acts or ahadith which mention those particular acts, which make it categorically clear that that's not something reconcilable within Islam. It is something, it's a completely opposite message to what Islam is giving. So you cannot reconcile the two. There's no way. This is similarly, this is the result of the actual process which is problematic. The process being denying something which has been denying sound sources. Now those sound sources establish wiping of the hoofs. So this is a manifestation of adopting a particular hermeneutic position with regards to the text. And that's why this has been brought into a book of Aqidah, because it's a quite easy telltale sign that this person won't accept these type of narrations, which means he's denying something which is sound. Ma sahha an Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, we said earlier. Wal hajj wal jihadu madiyan. And hajj and jihad will be perpetual. Now we can see obviously this year is a good example of that, even though there's been the coronavirus. We've seen that those people who were local to the Masjid Al-Haram have performed Hajj. Okay, obviously clearly not the large groups that we normally expect. And there may even come times where there's a pause, but this will carry on, Hajj will carry on, and also Jihad will carry on. Now, we don't unfortunately have that time to go into great detail about what we refer to, but Jihad is quite clearly a legal means of engaging in war. Now, any civilized society at times will have to engage in war. It has no choice. We know that that's not, if the sound civilized people did not engage in war, then tyrants would roam across the planet. So there will be times where a Muslim society, a Muslim country, a Muslim nation would have to declare war on its neighbors or somebody on the planet somewhere for particular reasons. So that jihad will take place up until the end of days. Ma'a ulil amri min al-muslimin, okay, under the Muslim leadership, barrihim wa fajrim, whether they be pious, righteous or sinners, ila qiyam as-sa'a, up until the final hour. La yubtiluhum shay' wa la yanqudhuhuma. Nothing will nullify them and nothing will abolish them. Meaning no one can come after and say Hajj has now been removed. The fifth pillar is no longer required. We do not need to travel to Mecca to perform Hajj. That will never happen. If it happens, then that should be denied. It's not a reality. Similarly, if someone says that there is no longer jihad, jihad has now been abandoned. It does not exist anymore. It is something which is for the historical books, and it's over. That will not happen either. That person should be denied. Every civilized nation will continue to have war as a means for determining peace, as strange as that sounds. The Kiramun Katibin wa nu'minu bi Kiram al-Katibin, and we believe in the angels that write, honorable scribes. فَإِنَّ اللَّهَ قَدْ جَعَلَهُمْ عَلَيْنَا حَافِظِينَ. For indeed Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has placed them over us as guardians, okay? They record everything we say. وَنُؤْمِنُ بِمَلَكِ الْمَوْتِ الْمُوَكَّلِ بِقَبْضِ أَرْوَاحِ الْعَالَمِينَ. And we also believe in the angel of death, who has been assigned the task of taking the soul of all the creatures on all, not just humans, but all creatures from them. So these are the last sort of few points, inshallah. Short session this time, because next week we will go into resurrection and what follows after death. Wa akhiru da'wana and alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.